If you haven't heard the news, self-help guru Dave Hollis passed away on February 11th of this year. No official word has been released about the cause of his death. However, both Dave's parents and Heidi Powell, who we're going to be talking about in this video, have come forward publicly and said it was related to his heart. Heidi Powell, who was Dave's ex-girlfriend and business partner at the time of his death, recently spoke out on her Instagram and in a podcast about Dave's death. This was posted March 16th, so about a month after Dave passed. So she's like, this is what this page is going to be moving forward. I'm looking forward to like showing up and being real and no filters. Meanwhile, I'm almost 99% positive that her face does not look like this in real life and that she has a filter on in this video.
Wait a minute.
She's like, I'm not going to show my kids anymore. I was like, Heidi, so proud of you. This is great. Posted it on my story. The next day she's got her kids on it again. I'm like, what the and the kids have been on it. She's been cuddling the kids on the bed. It's like nothing has changed.
This is my first real post to camera since everything happened a month ago. And honestly, I am struggling a little bit knowing how to come back to social media after such a life-changing break. You know, I think for a while I had said, I don't know how to go back to the real world, which was social media. And then I realized that's not the real world. The real world is a world that I'm living inside of. And I have been living inside of for the past.
God, we're still in the inside of train. That has not changed. That has not evolved.
Month. And the realization that going back to this world pulls me so far away from the real world and the world that really matters. It's had me really struggling to come back. But thank you for your patience and your kindness. Healing has been real, and it's been beautiful, and it's been hard.
It's like he died a month ago. You don't need to be healed. It's like healing has been hard. It's like it's going to continue to be hard. Just let it be hard. Why do we have to be healed and made up and filtered and then say we're not filtered? Like immediately. This is March 16th. You don't need to be healed and happy. It's like so frustrating to see this type of stuff. And it's not just Heidi, it's everyone. It's like as soon as something bad happens, there's the countdown, the timer starts to be, I've never felt better. I am just so much more evolved. Also, I gotta just talk about this for a second. She had cut her hair and went brunette or much darker blonde right before Dave died. And then in process of the funeral and all that, and then goes and gets her hair blonde and long again. I just found that to be very interesting, a very interesting way to cope.
That period of time was not the time to care about anyone but my family and his family, and myself. But thank you. Thank you for your kindness and your words and your grace that you gave to me. Some of it, I feel like I need to film an entire podcast on the things that I've learned over the last month about myself, about life in general, and just about what I want. I think the most important thing to share today, there's a lot, and it'll come out over time as it's meant to. I'm also not worried. But one of the most important things that I learned that pertains to you guys and what I do here is the way that I was living my life before. Not that it was bad, right? But the way that social media and things that I can't take with me when I die, right? Things that don't really matter. The way that I allowed them to matter pulled so much of my peace, my family's peace. And
again, when I listened to this, I was like, wow, she's really understanding a lot of the things that we talk about on this channel about like what's important in life. Is it social media numbers? Is it being a girl boss and profiting as much as possible? Is it changing the world through your life coaching business? No, I think it's about the people that you meet, the experiences that you have, and the smaller, honestly, the better. The more localized you can be, probably the happier your life will be. And I was hearing her talk and I was like, maybe something got through. And then literally every conclusion she's come to in this video, it's thrown out the door the next day. And that's why I'm so disappointed.
I didn't even realize it until I was out of it. I have experienced the largest perspective shift I think anybody could experience. And I am so grateful for it. I talk about there is a gift in every situation. There really has been gifts in this horrible tragedy. But there's stuff to be grateful for. Most of it is perspective. So while you guys matter, and I love you guys, and I appreciate so much the work that I get to do, I'm blessed to do. Like, I am lucky to get to do what I do. I think in a lot of ways, it's not going to look the same as it did before.
It looks exactly the same.
I'm not doing things anymore because I feel pressure to do them. I think things that I thought were transparent before maybe weren't, and anything I do will be transparent and honest. And for example, I'm done with filters. I'm done.
You have a filter on, Heidi. Like, maybe it's not changing your eye shape to be like giant and your cheeks to be sucked in more, but this is not any, no one goes out and has an airbrushed face. I'm sorry to say.
I'm done. It's just, you look at some of the ways that we have been for so long, we lose touch with reality, and it's not beneficial for anyone. I'm done with filters on pictures. I'm done with filters on what I have to say. I'm done with filters when I'm doing a paid partnership. You guys are going to see what it really is, and
I doubt that.
You're going to get to choose then if you want to follow, right? That's the beauty of this life that we live in. The beauty of living in America is we get to choose what we want to do and who we want to follow.
Yes. In Canada, you're not allowed to unfollow Heidi Powell. You are forced by Prime Minister law.
Hopefully, I will remain a page, or I will become a page if I'm not yet.
You're a human being, Heidi. You're not a brand. You're not a page. You're not a sensation. Okay, you are a person, and it's just like, this is not her. This is like a comment on society and influencers in general. They have lost their brain has melted, and they really think that they are all like companies.
And this is secondary now. This is secondary. My peace and my health and my family's peace and my family's health is of utmost importance. And I'm trying to figure out how, I know a lot of you are here for family and parenting, and I'm trying to figure out how to talk about and still inspire with family and parenting without having my kids be on here so much.
Claps for you. However, they were on it 2 seconds later and like cuddling on your lap on the couch in compromising positions. Like, no, she did not last a week with what she's saying here.
So anyway, I'm going to get back to the things that I am doing. Let me rephrase that. I'm not getting back to anything. I'm going to move forward with the things I believe God wants me to do on this planet. And it might mean showing up a lot. It might mean showing up a little bit for you guys. But what it will definitely look like is me showing up for me. It will look like me working out every morning. It'll look like me praying every morning and night. It'll look like me spending more quality time with my kids. It's going to look like showing up for me.
All things that she said she was doing consistently for the last 2 years that I followed her. So the fact that she's like, now I'm going to do this. It's like, you've said for years that you've already been doing this, but okay, we'll believe you this time. And then again, doesn't even change. It's like, oh God, so disappointing.
Anyway, I'm moving forward. We're moving forward now. I'm going to show up as much as I show up. Hold on. This is ending. You are going to see me story a little bit more, post stories a little bit more. And I felt like I needed to have this conversation with you guys. For me, I needed to have this for me, to let you know that you will see codes. You will see me posting some of my brand partnerships that I am so insanely grateful for. Part of what I get to do is I get to work with really incredible companies that do pay me. And it's how I make income for my family. There's a lot of things over this past month that I decided I'm not going to carry forward. I'm actually completely taking away my challenges.
And I think that's a great idea. That was the one thing that it seems like she has stuck to for now at the temporary time, that she's not going to do masterminds and fitness challenges. But I also have a feeling that because Dave was still involved in that when he was alive, that he was running a lot of it or doing a lot of the logistics, because she has said many times through the 2 years that through the 1 year that she did it, that, she wasn't the business person. She wasn't the one that was doing the pricing. She wasn't the one that was really making the decisions here. So I feel like she maybe is stopping because he was the one doing a lot of that legwork.
I hope you know I will never post about a product that I do not love. I will never post about a thing. I will never create or sell you something that I do not love and believe in wholeheartedly.
From now on or forever in the past too, because she would it would be obvious the bottle was not even open. She's like, I love this. This is my favorite thing. It's like, you haven't even opened it.
This is how I think I'm supposed to show up for the world. Just in truth and in light and in authenticity, even if you think it's weird. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm grateful for you guys.
What's weird
I
about
love you.
it?
And I'll see you on here.
So that's that. She's done posts. She's done, let's see her stories today. I don't know. Okay, here's serving God's kingdom. Okay, showing her cardio. Okay, she's a partner, brand partner. Now she's got her leg up. Okay, oh, she's got her boyfriend. I mean, not boyfriend. This is a new guy. It says, fit too fat to fit showed up for me too by making reservations for two at the local Crumble Cookies corner booth, dressed in our finest. Left me with the remainders. Dang it. You better believe I ate every last bit of those leftovers up until this morning's pre-workout. Fun fact, last time I saw this longtime best buddy of mine, okay, she's making sure to say, he's a best buddy, he's not my boyfriend. Last time I saw this longtime best buddy of mine was last April on this exact day at my show up event. I think we officially have a friendiversary, Drew. P.S. He's as good and kind as they come. Souls don't get better. If you don't know and follow him, you should. And it says photo credit, Dave Hollis, last April. Why is she tagging him? Why is she tagging Dave Hollis? Like, does that get your page more attention? He's dead. Like, what? It blows my mind. Why are you tagging him? Like, I wonder if that's some sort of like SEO thing or something, because it's like hidden in the bottom right there. You can see it. Like, what is that? So that was a recap. We're up to date. This is called The Next Season of Life with Heidi Powell. This is Craig Siegel, who has a podcast where he interviews all of the scammers. His whole thing is cultivating lasting symphony. Cultivate lasting symphony is about transformation. Sir, that is not a sentence.
No, God, please, no.
The face of transformation and personal development, a man I've never heard of or seen before. And it was posted 3 days ago. It's got a grand total of 30 views. So hot piping tea. The description says, life will include heartbreak and sadness at times. Heart emoji. Sometimes all we can control is our attitude and our next move. In Heidi's first appearance since experiencing a major personal loss in her life, so he got the exclusive, guys. He has the first appearance that she's made since a death of her ex-boyfriend. We get as deep and raw as any conversation I have ever had. Okay, raise your standards. Without further ado, here we go.
On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very exclusive treat. She is the ultimate female force and badass. She's a dynamic entrepreneur, fitness, transformation, and health expert.
I wonder if he's from New York. I wonder. They refuse to use microphones. These professional people who care about quality, they refuse to use a camera and use a microphone. So we're stuck with their failures.
As well as a best-selling author, no big deal. She believes in working up a sweat, working hard every day, and my personal favorite, deep belly laughs, just to name a few. You might have
deep belly laughs. Okay, I gotta soundbite that.
Seen her from ABC's hit show, Extreme Weight Loss, where she shares her transformative expertise, and her charisma is straight up off the charts. She's empowered millions of people across the globe through her Transform brand as a fitness coach and voice of reason, and her ability to motivate.
Also, let me just say for the record again, she's on the floor. So once again, she has not evolved past the floor of her bedroom for professional first appearances since major death announcements.
Please welcome the intelligent, dynamic, charismatic, inspiring, beautiful, and brilliant, the transformative Heidi Powell. How you doing, Heidi?
I mean, I'm on cloud 9 after that intro. Like, can I have you set up my dating profile in the future? Because that was amazing.
You're doing a podcast about the death of your ex-boyfriend. And it's like, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Can you set up my dating profile? Is your opening line, you need help, girl. You need a PR person.
I mean, yeah, you're like making me blush a little bit. That was really nice.
I thought that was a picture behind him. Apparently that is a real window. Wow. Very interesting because that boat's moving.
I did make you one promise that I would elevate your spirits. And just to start off real quick, most of my audience is probably familiar. In case you guys are not, my best suggestion is do a deep dive, check out all her content, all the amazing stuff she has going on. What I think is most valuable today is we just have an unbelievable conversation. But I did want to start off, and we talked a little bit about it before we record, and just say, you know, you never really know the right thing to say in situations like this, but obviously you suffered a big loss over the last month and so forth. And myself and the audience, we're just thinking about you. We're so grateful that you took the time to be here today, and we're sending our love your way.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. And, you know, in a time like that, it's interesting to actually be able to feel love and thoughts and prayers. So I could feel it from everyone who was sending. It actually made a big difference, and it helped healing. You know, I think we're always healing, but yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, my pleasure. And on that note, like you can never really plan for something like this, but when it comes to healing, like based upon your experience, like what have you learned about yourself? Like how do you heal during something like this?
You know, that's a really good question. I actually lost my dad. Here's what's crazy. I'll tell you a little backstory.
Please.
I lost my dad 12 years ago, same week, same month of the year. His name was also Dave. His nickname was also Super Dave. He also had some of the same struggles and charisma that Dave had. My dad also died in his sleep. He also died of heart failure. So, I mean, it's all the similarities in who they were and how much larger than life they were as well were just crazy. And I will say when I was much closer to Dave than my own dad, believe it or not. So that was a much harder loss. But the way that I mourned and healed my dad was very different than Dave. And I feel like I was almost given a second chance.
Heidi, it's been a month. You don't need to be healed from Dave's death yet. You don't even need to be healed from your dad's death. It's complicated. And it's like everyone's different. And I'm not saying she's saying like everyone should be healed by now. She's talking about her own experience, so I do understand that. But because of the pretense that she's a life coach, a transformation coach, a women empowerment leader, she's speaking on stages as an authority figure. When these types of interviews come up, I think it's fair game to judge as if it is advice. Personally, that was the same way I felt about the Gwyneth Paltrow interview. Yeah, she's not saying live your life like this, but she also owns a wellness company where she's selling stuff and saying that she's a successful woman because of the products that she has. So when she does an interview, it's safe to assume that it's like, wink, wink, this is what you should do.
Feeling was hard with my dad because I didn't let myself feel the feelings. I made myself wrong. If I was crying, I made myself wrong. If I was not crying, I made myself wrong, saying, why am I not crying, right? I also didn't know what I believed existentially with my dad. I didn't know that I wanted to believe any. I didn't, you know, my logical brain couldn't conceptualize a lot, and it was a pretty dark time for me. However, with Dave, I have come so far in 12 years. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned that I allowed to guide me. So one thing I had just put on social media this morning is when hard things happen, I have the choice. I can either use that as an excuse to go back to my own patterns and behaviors, or I can use that as a reason why my habits matter, why I want to make my life the best possible. And that simple thing of, okay, there has not been a day since Dave passed that I did not get my workout in. There has not been a day since Dave passed that I did not pray morning and night. There has not been a day since Dave passed that I did not make sure to take care of myself and my soul, because that was a wake up call for me.
What is that supposed to prove? So anyone who had like lost a loved one that they didn't go to the gym every single day should have some sort of guilt about it because they didn't achieve this. They didn't take their life seriously. They didn't get the wake up call they were meant to get. It's just like, again, I know she's talking about her own personal experience, but she's said that she's had issues with eating disorders. I would assume working out is part of that in some capacity, burning calories. I don't think she's seeing the warning signs of like, you're acting as actually in like a warning sign type of way, as opposed to, oh, it seems like you're actually handling this well. Are you in, I didn't hear therapy in there. I didn't hear support system. I didn't hear, taking time to think. I hear, I'm going to work out. I prayed every day. I read my Bible. I did this and this. It's like, okay, is this someone we should be taking advice from? It's obvious to me, no, but people pay her thousands of dollars and are obsessed with her, and they think that they can change their life because listening to her advice. It's like, yikes. I don't know.
Like, man, he didn't get the opportunity to make it to tomorrow because he put everybody else before himself.
Okay, let's listen to this part, because this is the big part. Also, she's saying like, oh, I did the gym every day. It's like, Dave went to the gym constantly. He was in a fitness competition with you like a month before he died, or 2 months. So it's like, what are you trying to say? Like, working out is the key to living life? Because he was at the gym a lot and he still had health issues. So again, like, we're missing some sort of critical piece here for this is like really making sense. Okay. Now we're going to talk about why she thinks Dave died. And I think this is wholly offensive.
He put everybody else before himself and before his health. He was so conscientious of everyone. It was big for me to take care of myself. So that helped.
What does that mean? He put everyone else in front of himself, and it was detrimental to his health. So what am I missing? What did he do? Like, what is she attributing the heart disease to? That he had children? Like, that he had an ex-wife? Like, what more can you do for yourself? He ran a personal development brand. He hasn't had a full-time job in like years. What could he have done? He went on trips. Like, I don't understand what she's trying to say here.
And then I think allowing myself to feel and not make myself wrong. I think even as people who were helping me through, you and I had talked about it before, and you just said it. You're like, I don't even know what to say. Like, we don't even have the right words. And when we say something as humans, we make ourselves wrong right away, right? And so same on the other side of grieving. Like, we have this idea of what grieving looks like, but it actually doesn't look like anything. It gets to look like what you want it to look like. And I had this thought, someone had said, grieving is like a fingerprint, and it's different for every person. And if you can accept that and remember that, the healing actually comes. And it has made it much easier for me. Like, if I feel joy or gratitude for Dave, I don't need to hide it and cry, right? I can actually feel it. And if I feel sadness, I don't need to hide it and act happy. I can feel the sadness. So that, I would say, that was it for me.
Yeah, this is so powerful. First of all, thank you for the vulnerability, for pulling back the curtain. Obviously, it's still raw and still fresh, but I think this is so helpful for the audience, because everybody at some point is going to deal with sadness, right? Yeah, it's just a part of life. It's inevitable. And I think a really good lesson that you just said, something that I'm working on, is because I used to be this masculine man, and like now I've really embraced and understood like feminine energy and so forth, to be and allow, and allowing yourself permission to feel the feels, right? And not suppress them or hide them, and let them kind of come through, right?
Yeah.
This guy's not asking her questions. He's just like talking, and then she's like responding. It's a very odd interview so far.
3 alpha boys. And so I think I've been an alpha female. I have. And crying was not really a thing I did as long as my dad was alive, because it was like, we were kind of raised in an era where you got to be tough, right? And if I wanted to keep up with the boys or be noticed or whatever, I had to be tough like a boy. And so I actually feel you. I went most of my life relating to men more than women. And so me trying to allow that feminine energy as well has been new. And it's been great. Like, when you are in balance and you allow yourself to be who you are, all parts of who you are, I think that's when you're in stride and you can actually live into your purpose. And that's probably, Craig, why your journey has been what it has been, because you're allowing things that you wouldn't have previously.
So true. Yes. And I was looking at your content, which I suggest everyone do immediately following this episode. And one of the things you talk about, and it just reminded me what you just said, is like, in order to manifest things, like, you have to be in integrity, like with yourself, right? Yeah. And if you try to suppress your feelings and stuff like that, like, it's almost inauthentic, right? You're trying to avoid or abandon who you are and what you're supposed to feel.
I just love how the most inauthentic, calculated people who will sell you anything to make money talk about integrity all the time and authenticity all the time. It's like the biggest irony of all.
So lean into this stuff.
I mean, what you're saying is like my biggest turn on in life. Right? I was telling someone the other day, I had a friend that was trying to hide some stuff to look masculine or tough. And then stuff started coming out. And I said, you don't understand the real, the raw, the flaws. That is so sexy, not in a romantic way.
Awkward.
I've always been a pretty authentic person. However, there's layers sometimes of who we are because people expect us to be a certain way. And a lot of that, honestly, in my brand, a lot of what I've allowed to continue from my past marriage is not who I necessarily am today, but it's still there. And I just, it's like, oh, people expect this, right? Right before Dave passed, a couple months before Dave passed, I had actually had a breakdown. I was experiencing anxiety and depression for the first time in my life, August to October, end of October. And I had said, I finally had this realization that it was a betrayal of my soul. My soul knew who I was and where I was going. And the natural man or woman in me was so terrified of taking a leap from who the world knew me as or who I am, who people think.
Wait, what? The natural man or woman inside of her? Thank you to the people who commented and explained what Heidi most likely meant in this comment. It has to do with the scripture and the Book of Mormon, apparently. So thank you for clarifying that.
Taking a leap from who the world knew me as or who I am, who people think I am or who they need me to be who I actually am. And there's a lot more depth than me than you will ever find on Instagram. And that's part of the frustration, but just like, and in that though, I had gotten to a point, Dave, I was on a journey. I started breaking free and getting to this place where I'm like, okay, I'm going to be who I am.
Be in integrity, Heidi, and explain yourself, because you've been a public figure the whole time. What were you not aligning with? Why don't they ever actually say what they're like? Oh, I was not in integrity because my life was in shambles because this, and this, and I was teaching women for $10,000 a pop or whatever, $5,000 a pop, and teaching them how to live their life better. And I was a liar and I was manipulating people. That would be authentic and in integrity. But no, it's like, it's a vague, like I wasn't living into the best version of myself. What? Tell us, because we were all watching back then and you acted like you were great back then too. So I'm confused.
People don't like it. I don't care.
But you do care because people clicking on your link pays for your children's lives, as you said. So you do care. That's your whole job, is making people happy and liking you so that they buy products from you. I don't care. Yes, you do. Your job and your livelihood and your children's livelihood depends on it, actually.
Because I believe that the people who are meant to come to me, that's me fulfilling my purpose. The people who are meant to come to me will be attracted like a magnet, right? I believe in the law of attraction.
Same.
I felt that I'm experiencing it in real time. And it's me living an aligned life. And
so how did you attract this tragedy then? The law of attraction. You dreamt about this happening?
One of the things in me, Dave passing was like, I've been saying it was the nail in the coffin to my old life. Like I had already started the process of I'm going to be, even if it means I was already.
Get a better analogy, please, God.
Shutting down half of my businesses, keeping the others, and saying I'm going to clear space and let the universe bring. And it was super scary. And then Dave passed. And I'm like, man, this is confirmation right here. Like it is time for me to show up exactly as who I am, regardless of what it means, because I started going back to church.
People dying does not have to do with you. Confirmation that I was right the whole time. It's like, oh my God. Can you make one thing not about you?
And my one thing, I can't think of the word right now, condition for me going back to church is I said, I would only do it if I show up every Sunday or Saturday or whenever it is and speak only the truth that I know, not truth that I think people want me to speak, not true. Like I'm only going to say what I know. I'm going to speak as true and authentic, even if it means I don't fit in. Right. So I am so aligned, Craig, with what you're saying. And it's been beautiful. I don't know what it looked like to them, but to me, right, my peace has been ever present and I'll never go back.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word peace, and like when I think of peace these days, I think of tranquility. Like, isn't that the ultimate like greatest feeling? Like,
This guy sucks. I'm sorry. Not everyone should be a podcast host. Not everyone can be as dynamic as they need to be. When I think of peace, I think of tranquility, you know? And speaking of tranquility, here's my tranquility supplements. It's a 3-pack. It's $10.99. You get it down at the bodega. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop.
when you're at peace, because you're you, and you're just available, right? For whatever that is. And that's a really powerful word, and it's something that I strive for nowadays. Like, if I could find peace and tranquility, it's just a beautiful place to be, of serenity, and you're on the right track when you're in peace.
Yeah, and you're never going to find it.
Right.
I know I'm on the right track if I find peace and tranquility. Well, you're never going to find it. Unless you date me, and I'm available now. You should write my bio on Tinder. Man. Heather says, it's insane that Dave died and all they talk about is themselves. Haven't heard an I miss him or anything about his life cut short. Yes. Thank you, Heather. Yes, that is the obvious thing going on here, that like, what's a quality that Dave had that you miss? What's a memory that you have of him and you, and you know what, like nothing. It's like, I'm healed. I'm better. The final nail in my coffin of life was Dave literally going in a coffin. Like the fact that, I mean, I guess like could be Freudian slip. Like that just came to her mind and she said it, but like, that's a very weird thing to say. Like this person's life ending was just for me to realize, this is like Rachel Hollis 101. The random guy that she witnessed pass away allegedly at a park one day that she was like running by, was for her to remember that life is short. Not because that's a person who has his own life and his own thing going on, that's, you know, something that has nothing to do with you. You can glean a lesson from it if you'd like, but it's not the purpose of that person dying. But they're so, and I think it's the internet that perpetuates this, and the industry that rewards this, which is influencing, which I'm obviously becoming very against.
This has been, I mean, I've taken a month. I barely have been on social media for a month, and it's been the most incredible thing. Yeah. And to the point where it's hard to go back to, I was saying, I don't know if I want to go back to the real world. And I'm like, what am I talking about? Social media is not, I'm in the real world. Like I've been living for the first time in 12, 13 years since my ex-husband and I had a show, and I've been in the public. I've actually been living in the real world. Right. And there's been so much peace there. Like it's already there. I created peace by cutting out the noise. Like what are the things? I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about how anytime you're living in the past, which brings depression, or the future, which creates anxiety, you are absolutely missing the present, which is the only place that peace exists is in the present. Right. And so me being off of social media has...
Okay, but literally she's back on and posting constantly again. So I guess it wasn't that peaceful because you're back again. It's an addiction. We're all addicted to the social media, to the phone, to the technology. Like, I get it. I'm addicted too. I need to work on myself greatly. My integrity is down on the floor, okay? But it's like, she talks about it like, oh, I figured out that like, if I just stop obsessing over the past and worrying about the future, I'll be peaceful. And I figured that out. It's like, yeah, everyone kind of knows that.
I haven't felt like I have to feel shame or guilt for things of the past or make up for. I also have not felt like I need to look into too far into the future because I'm not keeping up with the Joneses. I'm not comparing, right? So I'm literally making food with my kids. I'm going to church. I'm reading books. I'm still taking care of the things that I need to do, but I'm very much in the present, which has been super peaceful. So my biggest concern about getting back into the social media world, which we know is not the real world, is how do I do it and protect my peace? You won't find peace. You must create it. You have to know yourself, know your boundaries, know what is pulling you this way or that way, and protect that, build walls, right? Or standards.
I just don't like this whole, and it's not just self-help, it's any podcast format, really. It's like when you have people on that you like, really. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. Like, it's much harder to challenge someone you like than challenge someone you don't like, right? Obviously. But there's no challenge ever to anything anyone says. There's never a challenge to it. It's always just, yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love that. Oh my God, I love that. These are not conversations. I think as society, we're forgetting what conversations look like. Back and forth, give and take, hearing a thought and responding with an actual secondary thought as opposed to planned out narrative. But this is all we have now, at least for me. This is all I have is podcasts and YouTube videos. It's like I need to meet people in real life.
I am very intentional with my relationship with social media, but sometimes I get got, right? And it's just it's challenging to navigate, even when you're aware, right? But I think at the end of the day, it is a lot of, I don't want to say nonsense, but like what you see is not necessarily true. So use it for the right reasons, and if you're seeing other people win, clap, good for them, and try not to compare.
It's really bittersweet. Right. It's a blessing and it's a curse. It's like, it's a wonderful tool. And to be honest, I'm not huge at looking at other people's content. I never have. I didn't even have social media until I was on a TV show, which I did not plan on being on. And I had to get it. I didn't have MySpace. I didn't have Facebook. I was a mom. But yeah, I had social media only because the producers and my publicist at the time was like, you got to be online. So I've never really struggled. Like,
it's very Rachel Hollis of her as well. Like, it wasn't me. It's not me who's chosen to go on social media and ruin my own life by my own accord. It's the producers from 12 years ago that forced me to do it. Like Rachel will say, I never wanted to be a motivational speaker. It was all the people paying me that forced me to do it. It's like, okay, take some responsibility.
Of any conversation I've ever had, this is the most unscripted in the sense that, like, I haven't even asked the question yet that I wrote down. It's just these are the best types of conversations.
This is a subpar conversation. I'm sorry. This is not a good conversation. There's no depth to this whatsoever.
If you're thinking about the past, you're depressed. And if you're thinking about the future, you have anxiety. And when I think of me, like 3 years ago, like right before the pandemic, trying to find myself, I think of myself somewhere in the middle of both of those. The one thing I did not have was the present, which was peace.
How do you run a business without thinking of the past and planning the future? You don't. How do you plan for your children's college? You can't think about the past or the future. It's just so, be more present as much as possible. Great advice. These people are not, Socrates here, like coming up with these concepts, like, mind blown. It's just, I hate this content. I'm sorry.
August 1st. Dave and I were in a hotel. We were on a little weekend getaway, and I was doing exactly what you're talking. And I had been for very long, but it had gotten worse, that betrayal of soul. And it was just me freaking out about the future. How do I get out of this rat race that I'm in? Number one, because I felt like I was in a rat race and I felt stuck, right? And how do I get out of it and not carry all of this crap with me? Or am I enough? Like, if I get out of it, I'm coming with this suitcase. What if I'm not enough in general, whether it's in business or
just give specifics. Like, the vagueness is just, it loses any help. It loses any context. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I just thought of this and I didn't know if I was enough. Just, can we talk in real words? What was the problem? Be transparent and have integrity. I don't know what you're talking about.
Relationship. Who am I without this identity that I've created that felt like a facade in a way, right? Like,
what part of it?
And so it was just this super crazy thing that had me thinking I was having a heart attack one night.
Really?
I was sitting in a hotel room and it just started kicking in. And the more I actually told Dave, I had him call down to the front to get a paramedic, and he did. And I actually thought I was dying because my hands were doing this thing and heart was like through the roof. My eyes were closing in on me, like the darkness was actually coming. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I 100%. I've never felt that way before. I 100% thought I was dying.
Wow.
And because I had a heart thing years ago. And I remember sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. And my kids aren't even here. I'd never experienced an anxiety attack. So paramedics came, long story short, after 2.5 hours, it got better. I didn't sleep. And the next day I ended up going, I had another one, and Dave took me to the hospital, to the emergency room. They checked me in. It was just anxiety, right? And I say just craziest thing on the planet. But that, for me, that bounce back and forth, we can only do that for so long before our bodies and our minds and our hearts give out, right? Like,
what were you not in line with? I'm still not getting that answer. And this, again, is pointless to talk about this in circles. Like, sorry that you had this happen to you. You know, yeah, we've been down this road already. She's talked about this panic attack before. I hate having panic attacks. Okay, but she's not explaining how she got past it. Did she get on medication? Did she go to therapy? Nothing. We don't get that. We don't get what actually caused it. So what's the point of the story? Dave actually died. So your story about feeling like you're dying is actually sort of less relevant now. So what are we doing here?
they stop. They're going to, and I believe that was a lot of what Dave was dealing with, you know, and when you're unable to find peace, it's really hard to, your soul can't rest. You're never at rest. Right. And it wasn't, this is actually where, for me, God came back in, because I needed something to believe in, and making all the money and experiencing everything someone could experience, having all the fun, even a loving relationship with my kids, because I have a great relationship, it still wasn't getting me the peace that I wanted. Right. And so it's like, I needed a higher power. I found a higher power to lean into.
Yeah, this is really deep stuff. And I know what you're talking about. The way you described it, like, it almost feels like you're suffocating. And it's so interesting, like, your anxiety will eventually cause a physical reaction where you have to get checked in, and then you can diagnose it.
Yeah.
But ultimately you had to go find God again. How come you got off track with your faith?
That's a really great question. So interestingly, I was raised in a pretty religious neighborhood area, right? Very religious. And my family had us go to church every week. They were pretty
like a compound, are you trying to say? Were you on some sort of farm or something?
Pretty loose. They weren't super strict. So I got lucky there, because I was exposed to non-religious people and was taught from a young age that you don't have to be religious to be a good person, where a lot of people in religion are like, hey, as long as you're in it, you're good. If you're not, you're not. I was pretty into my religion until I met Chris. So first divorce. I've been married and divorced twice. And I had 2 kids with my first husband, divorced. And when I met Chris Powell, my ex-husband, who I did the TV show with, for anyone that doesn't know, Extreme Weight Loss, he was the first person, he didn't know what he believed in at all. And it was my first exposure to someone who didn't know if he believed in anything, who lived, like, that guy was more Christ-like than anyone I'd ever met in a religious environment.
So why are you in church again then, if like the one person that's the most Christ-like is the least religious? None of this makes sense.
The purpose of religion is to bring the good word, right? And to have people emulate Christ, or whether you believe in Christ or you don't.
Christianity,
this
not
man
religion.
Who was unconditionally loving and kind to everybody, right? Loved the sinner, didn't judge. Like, that's the goal, right? And sometimes we get so caught up in religion, checking the boxes. Like, am I praying? Am I reading the Bible? Am I going to a temple or whatever? Check, 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 check. Oh, but are you being a good person? Like, that's the box I want checked. And I think I realized with Chris that, like, he didn't check any of those other boxes, but what he did check was that he had the most Christ-like heart of anybody. And then the work he and I started doing together was literally Christ's work in my eyes. Like, that is God's work. We didn't just help people lose weight. We helped them love who they were. We went into their homes and helped them work through trauma. That's what extreme weight loss was.
Yeah.
No, you didn't, because you're not qualified to help anyone through trauma. You can support somebody going through trauma. You don't help someone through trauma. Get them in therapy.
you saw a physical transformation, but it was a heart change. So I stopped going then. We were busy and I didn't have any, I appreciated all religions. I believed more in a spiritual connection. And I believed in the idea of integrity and living in alignment. So like my alignment is my contract with my God. And it is, if I am living according to what I believe my God or God wants for me to do, I'm in alignment and the heavens open and the stars align for me. And I am a magnet. That is the law of attraction. And mine shouldn't be compared to yours or anybody else's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of why I went away. And there's nothing wrong with that too, because I believe in that. I'm just at a point where I want more with my family. I want support. I want community.
This is so good and so deep. It almost sounds like to me, like it sounds like you went away from it, but you were in alignment. Things were going well. You were coasting, and it's not like you abandoned him. And then during this time, you kind of
Nothing makes sense. Nothing that everything is contradictory. I got back into church because I needed to believe in something. But Chris, my ex-husband, is actually the most non-believer that I've been with, and he's the best. Okay, so what's the point of the religion then? I don't know.
doubled down and got back to that, I would say.
Yeah. And I have a very logical brain.
No,
Right. And if I can't see it, I don't know if I believe it. Like,
Wait, there's so much alignment here. When's your birthday?
March 28th. When's yours?
April 27th.
Oh, okay. Wait. So you're not an Aries. You're a, what are you? Yeah, you are. So we're just one sign apart.
Yeah.
We're like brother and sister. We're neighbors.
I mean, it's very obvious. Wait, so for me,
What is going on? We are so alike. That's not his accent. Sorry. I don't know what accent that was. We're like so alike. When's your birthday? That's the way to tell if we're alike. When's your birthday? Okay. What is going on? This is digressing quickly.
I could never buy into the law of attraction because I couldn't see it. I was very tangible, like mindset, like work hard. And then I finally let go of that limiting belief. About 2 years ago, I went back into The Secret in a different season of life. And then I went down the rabbit hole. And I don't think I left the quantum since. But now
Bro, you are never in the quantum because you don't know what the that means. And no one that uses the word quantum knows what the they're talking about. Okay. Unless you're a quantum physicist, stop using the word quantum.
So here's the thing. I'm going to talk. This is so exciting. The law of attraction to me, I hear you. I have to be able to make sense of everything. So the law of attraction, I have experienced that unlike anything else, more than I have anything in religion. I've experienced the realness of the law of attraction in that.
No, you haven't.
But if you think about it, you can make it make sense, right? When we say, I'm going to buy, I like when we know we're car shopping and we say we're going to buy a white Chevy. I don't even know cars, a Chevy truck, whatever that is. Suddenly on the road, our mind is thinking Chevy truck, right? So on the road, we're like, whoa, why are so many people all of a sudden driving them? They're not. It's the same number of people, but you have the glasses on that is looking for the white Chevy truck.
Yep.
That's what the law of attraction is. Law of attraction is when we put it out, when it's on the forefront of our brain, we're essentially wearing rose-colored glasses. Or I actually, for some of my lessons, I have rose-colored glasses and I have poop emoji glasses. Whatever glasses
You said poop emoji glasses.
we choose to put on that day, it all exists.
Yep.
But when we choose to put those on, we are going to find evidence to back up the story in which we are speaking, right? So
confirmation bias. Okay, that's what you're describing. That means you will go through mental gymnastics to justify whatever action you already want to do. If you want to make a lot of money, but you want to be a good person, you will justify every decision you make on the path to making money as I'm doing this for humanity. Oh, I'm a good person. There's no evidence that means that's true. You will just convince yourself. Okay, so convince yourself of whatever you want. Yeah, that sounds right. That's not the law of attraction. I'm self-serving myself and I can't look at reality.
where that I need forgiveness, so I should forgive others. So that's in the forefront of my brain. Then I end by asking for blessings, which is essentially me putting in the forefront of my mind where I need help that day, right? So I have the glasses of gratitude, of forgiveness, and of where I need help. So I'm looking for God's answers to my prayers. I'm looking for that.
If you took The Secret, like teaching what he was discussing, he said like The Secret, the book and the movie, thinking about the problems that you're looking to be solved with the blessing is actually against the principles of the law of attraction. You have to only think you are already living in the life that you want. So if you think about the things that you're lacking and the things you need to change, that will bring you more bad things, is what the book says. And I know that because I unironically read it and believed in it like a dumbass myself. Okay.
This is so good. And just to take a step back for a second, like,
This is so good.
we're manifesting one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well be intentional and send out the right signals, because you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are. And the reason why that was
So what is she? A widow? Like, what is she? So the smile is confusing. We're here for the purpose of this podcast is overcoming sadness with a major event. I manifest the life I deserve. Like, what? Why did you deserve this?
you couldn't pay me $1 billion to be anywhere else right now. I love this. I love you already.
I love
And
you.
I have a feeling like you haven't been this lit up in a while, and it's so good to see. And I'm so happy to see you this excited. And
I would be like, I can speak for myself with my energy. I can tell by me talking to you that you are the most lit up you've been in a while. And I think that's because you have a crush on me. Like that's what that sounds like to me.
I can even think back, and I'll be honest, I can think back, there were parts of certain relationships that I've had where people were super selfless to me, like kind, selfless, and giving. And I think deep down I knew, and I still, like, I'm very protective now of other people when they're super giving and super selfless. To me, I actually know that it's the result of an insecurity or a past trauma that they have not yet fixed.
wow.
Right. And that was something Dave was the most selfless person
Selfless.
I've ever met. And it was something we were working on with him because he gave so much, and it was, but we all have that, right?
No, okay. Not to disparage him, obviously, but is that an accurate statement? He was the most selfless person maybe she's ever met. Maybe she's surrounded by selfish people. That's it. He had employees underneath him. He must have gotten ahead of other people along the way. He was a successful guy. He made a lot of money. He spent a lot of money on houses and things and whatever. He, basically was along for the ride with the grift that Rachel, I think, was the big perpetrator of, especially in the beginning, but like that their marriage was perfect, but in reality they had, problems the whole time. That's selfish behavior. Where's the selflessness of that? Where is the honesty? Where is the, I'm not ready to write this book right now because I'm still healing. I'm going to turn down this book deal. Where is that? That's selfish for him to go and write the book that he wrote, which was a lie, which he claimed that was a lie later, which is like, yeah, I wrote that book from a place that I wasn't actually being truthful. It's okay to be selfish. We're all selfish to a degree. It's okay to admit that. You don't have to say, change reality. See, she's got the law of attraction in her own brain, her own method of law of attraction. She wants him to be the most selfless person ever because he's passed away. And that's the best and easiest way to think about people once they've passed, as the saint, as the best version, the angel that they now are. It helps you to move forward, or to think like now you don't have to process the complications that person's, being in your life was, but that's not real. And it's like, I don't like that she's like, I'm real. I'm, facing the truth. It's like, no, you're not.
And it was hard for me, especially in relationships with people, specifically men, because of my trauma. Very hard for me to ever tell a man no. Hard for me to ever set a boundary with them. And I found myself in a lot of uncomfortable situations. And recently, by making that shift, I'm like, no, this is just a standard. And I can love this person beyond this standard that I have. You either meet my level or you don't. And it's okay. I love you no matter what. And that was life-changing.
Again, like, can we get what the boundary was? Life-changing for you, I'm sure. Life is changing every day for these people in epic proportions.
Yeah, this is gold, straight up.
That's gold straight up. Love it. What a response. What a great response. She's like, I set a boundary with someone. I will not name them or what the situation was, but it was life-changing. Gold straight up.
That is what leads, like that right there leads to self-loathing and hatred.
He's literally typing a message to someone right now. You can tell.
You know those visuals you have where like it's like all the different things and then a T-Rex
Now he's on
pops
his
out when you
phone.
like stare at it from a distance.
Yeah. For some reason, I just got really emotional when you were speaking because I think like for
Okay.
so many people that are listening, I know a lot of people sadly are not where they'd hope they'd be.
You just literally, you want to come teach with me? Because this is,
I would
I
love
love
to.
this.
Oh.
This, the term we use.
I have an opening. Oh, just so happens like I need a male teacher. I don't know, like really know why. Like no big deal, no reason in particular why I have an opening right now. God. This guy is like, it just made me emotional. He was not listening to you. He doesn't say anything of value. Be a better judgment of character, please. God.
You said that when Dave passed, one thing that you did not do was break your routine, right? And you kept those promises to yourself, whether it be in working out. You said you had to miss a workout, eating right, praying, gratitude, whatever the case may be. You stayed in integrity with yourself throughout that. And I imagine most people in a situation like that, they kind of fall off the wagon and then that begins to spiral. And that's
Yeah.
not to say don't feel all the feels, absolutely, but
Yeah.
also give yourself that momentum and confidence that it's going to hurt a little bit less in a couple months from now. But in the meantime, let me stay on my routine and keep those promises and keep the momentum going. That's something you can control.
She also, the context is she had a full-fledging eating disorder for like a decade plus that she's still struggling with, as she has admittedly said that she has been struggling with it, you know, on and off for her whole life. That is not like, oh, good thing that you stuck, like, oh, it's like, oh, almost like as if like you really controlled your portions ever since Dave died. Good for you. Like, it's not necessarily a good thing. And knowing her history, pretending like this is an amazing feat that she's accomplished is stupid.
Dave does not want me to be that person. Like I remember making plans with him when he was doing his living will and trust. And he was specifically a year and a half ago said, I want people to miss me, but I want them to be their best. I want them to laugh. I want them to have joy. I want them to celebrate me, right? Everyone in our life that means a lot to us likely wants us to be happy after they pass. They want us to live the life that they wish they could be living now, right? And so that was for me like, okay, here's how old Heidi would have responded. How's new Heidi going to respond?
A year and a half ago. I wonder why he decided to do it then. I wonder if that was part of the divorce agreement that they had to redo the wills. That's interesting that she was there for that. Kind of odd because they weren't dating that long at that point.
I'm going to make the decision that is, I'm going to be my best for me and also for Dave, to honor Dave. Like I would be sad, Craig, if I died and my kids went downhill.
He's literally texting. This is the worst conversation. That's why she's like, Craig, because he's looking at his phone, not paying attention whatsoever.
Yeah. You just had one of the craziest breakthroughs I've ever heard in my life. I often do this exercise, like
the biggest moment of my entire life was that moment that just passed as I was texting while you were talking. Okay.
So someone once said, there's a reason why in a car, the windshield is 100 times the size as the rear view mirror. But the rear view mirror is important. Like we must be able to look in that rear view mirror and see the past. Why? So we can learn from it. So we can understand what we need to avoid.
I thought the present was the only thing we needed to worry about. And that gives us depression to think about the past. I'm so confused.
I can't wait to build a friendship.
Oh,
And I know for certain, like whatever's next for you, this next season of life, is going to be really magical and really special. And
it's all about them. It is like, oh, my growth journey of this person passing to teach me about that. It's all about them. It's self-serving, narcissistic bullshit. And they eat it up and they sell it as selfless advice for others.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. I just want to second all of it. Like it's not very often that I find somebody who I can connect with in this way. I feel like you and I could talk for 7 hours, and that's it. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Heidi, this is not a guy that gives a okay? He is in this to make money or do whatever he wants, or like to meet women or something. He does not care about you. Get a better radar. This guy sucks, okay? Let's be real. This guy he likes how you look, and that's it. Not to be mean. You have a lot of great qualities that he's not even caring about to get to know, all right? You need to be better about this. It's obvious this guy sucks.
Not many people can keep up with, with the things I have to say, and you are like,
yeah, I appreciate that, and I feel exactly the same.
He's horrible.
For the audience, obviously about 4 or 5 million now. They're very loyal and engaging. What's the best way for all of them to support you, Heidi?
He has 4 million followers. Give me an effing break. Are they all morons? Like, are they have like brain dead? Who are these 4 million people that listen to this? Craig has nothing good to say. He has said nothing in this interview that has been worthwhile other than that's gold that I liked. Okay.
Hang up for 1 second. I want to connect with you after.
okay.
Heidi, I want you to know you're the definition of perspective, authenticity, and integrity. I can personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and leaving your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless, juicy nuggets today.
Thank you, Craig. You have a really wonderful way of engaging with people. You're like a muse. You are. You just kind of get go. You are gifted and talented. You are living in your purpose. You're doing what you're meant to do. It's awesome.
This guy gave 10% effort. He gave like 0. Yeah, he didn't even listen. He just said, wow, amazing. Yes, everything you said is great. Oh, I'm really engaged with this. Yes, what you just said, powerful. She can't be serious. She just wants him to like her, right? Like, people can't really get things this wrong, right?
Look, it took me 35 years to find myself.
Could be 40, so you're good.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm almost 41.
Just getting warmed up.
Yeah. I feel like it. Like in some ways I'm like, okay, I got to start like getting filler and doing different things. And in other ways I'm like, you know what? The beauty is actually the stuff you can't see, you know?
Yes. I'm telling you, I know I just technically met you for the first time today, but there's something about you that you have a lot of perspective. And I'm really excited to see what's next.
I appreciate that. If you
Let's
ever
stay connected.
Hey, yeah. Do you have my info? Let me drop my number in here.
And also, do you run your own Instagram or do you have a team?
Heidi.
Well, for the last month or two, I actually had a team start doing it. And then I stopped. So before Dave passed. Before that, it was me, but it was just inconsistent. So I was like, all right, I got to get someone in and I got to start having them, pull old clips because I've done so much speaking.
Yeah.
I got to stop micromanaging and controlling it because it was consuming me.
Yeah.
But I do my own stories. I just haven't been as active.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll support each other there. I'll DM you in a little bit and I'll follow you. And then also let's exchange numbers.
Hey, great. I was looking for the chat box so I could put my number. Well, just DM me and I'll.
You have your phone or no? I can give you mine.
I know? It's better.
Shoot me a text.
Okay, what's your number?
Oh, so he did leave that in purposely because I was like, okay, he's going to show his number too. Let's call this guy. I'm just kidding. I do not advocate if he did say his number to call him, obviously. That's called doxing, everybody. She must be a great liar or is delusional that guy was talented at podcasting. I'm sorry. Just objectively, he was not. He didn't ask anything pointed. He didn't give any follow-up. He gave no personal anecdotes that were relevant or interesting. Sorry, you failed the podcast test. How do you have millions of followers? I don't get this.